Hello, everybody. I think I have some technical problems because I have no idea if I am live or not. If you are in the chat and you can hear me, please do say hello and just say something like, yes, you are live. Yes, we can hear you. Because I'm looking at my phone and I don't see that I'm live. No? Oh, now you are live. Thank you, Damirov, Sunatila. Was I live before or no? Do you know? Okay, I can see myself now. Okay. So I will repeat some of the things that I said when I think I was not live. So, hello everybody, and welcome to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn, and we are here today to do some guided writing. Now, first of all, I just want to say what this stream is and what this stream isn't. I understand that most people who are like on my Telegram channel, they come on my Telegram channel because they want one of two things. Either they want a free practice speaking test with feedback, or they want a free IELTS writing check. And I know that's, 90% of my work is on YouTube is speaking tests and writing checks, right? That's what I do. But this stream is not to give people speaking tests, and this stream is not really even to give people writing checks. The purpose of this stream is to do a guided writing, right? This is a free lesson for you guys to learn how to write IELTS writing, task 2, two-part essay questions. That's why we are here. And the benefit that you receive as students is that you get to do some guided writing practice. You'll have the teacher, me, who explains, okay, this is how we should write an introduction, and this is how we should write the body paragraph, and this is what we should do next. And so step by step, I will take you through a piece of writing, right? And that's the benefit. Now, at the end of this, I will take a look at two people's writing, and I will give some immediate feedback and scores. But that's like the bonus, right? If you are only here because you're hoping that I will check your writing, this probably isn't the stream for you. Now, another point I want to make is at the end, when I select the writing, I will only select writing that clearly follows the structure that we're looking at today. Now, is this structure objectively the only structure that you should use in IELTS? No. Is it definitely objectively the best one ever? Objectively, I can't say absolutely yes, it is. For me, I think it is the best way to approach this task, and this is a lesson, and so I'm hoping, on test day, you guys are welcome to choose whichever style you want to write it in, right? If you like IELTS Advantage or IELTS Simon or Pauline, whatever her name is, you want to use their guidance, do that on test day, absolutely fine, that's up to you. But in today's session, we're going to look at a structure. We're going to look at my structure for this, what I think is an easy, simple structure, and I will only check pieces of writing that clearly follow this structure. So, hope that's clear. All right, so just while maybe we're waiting for some more people to come, who knows, I have set up just a simple warmer task just to see how many people are here and how many people are listening and receptive, because I will need your participation today. So your simple warmer task for you guys in the chat, I have a series of sentences and I want you guys to make two relevant questions connected to the sentences, right? So for example, sentence number 1, if I say, I'm meeting my friend this evening, you could ask, who are you meeting? Or you could ask, what are you going to do, right? Those are two very logical questions. Who are you meeting? What are you going to do? We have 5 more sentences here. I'm so tired. I went to the cinema yesterday. I'm reading an interesting book at the moment. All kids in the UK have to study a foreign language, and the majority of Glyn's subscribers are from Uzbekistan and Bangladesh. So those are 5 sentences. You guys in the chat write 2 questions in response to each of these 5 sentences. Otterbeck says, have you been working for a long time? That's a good response to I'm tired. Hi, I'm from Uzbekistan. A lot of PUBG guys in the chat today. I play PUBG too. Otterbeck says, what have you been doing? Cool. Mirabos says, how are you feeling? Now that's strange. I'm tired. I'm so tired. How are you feeling? Well, tired. You shouldn't ask a question. You should ask a follow-up question, Mirabos. So, you know, I'm so tired. Otterbeck's question is, what have you been doing? Cool. Bunny X says, why? Cool. Maybe we should use a full sentence, like, why are you so tired? Faridi Anam, nope, that's not connected to this task. Have you done today? So, Debet, your question, have you done today, doesn't work. What have you done today? That works. But not just have you done today. Good news, Rahmatila, but today we're doing guided writing. But cool. Why are you tired? Cool. That makes sense. How are you doing? That doesn't make sense, does it? So immediately we have like logical problems. And I think this is sometimes a problem with many candidates for IELTS, is that, you know, very basic logic isn't always there. I'm so tired. How are you? Well, I'm so tired. That doesn't, I don't know. We have some more questions. Mukadas says, with who you went there. And again, we see now some grammatical problems, right? Instead of with who you went there, who did you go there with? Who did you go there with? So this is past simple, and we put prepositions like with usually at the end of sentences in questions, not before the question word. We don't say like, about what are you talking? We say, what are you talking about? Who did you go there with? Somebody says, what did you do yesterday? I'm not sure what that's connected to. What made you tired? Sure, cool. What about this last question then? So the majority of Glynn's subscribers are from Uzbekistan and Bangladesh. Can anyone think of any simple follow-up questions to this? And again, I'm just waiting and just reading some of your messages in the chat. Like I say, I will need some participation from you folks to make this work. Still get where did you go yesterday? I want to focus on sentence 5, right? The majority of Glynn's subscribers are from Uzbekistan and Bangladesh. Do we have any follow-up questions to those things? How did you feel about followers of your channel? Cool, Rahmatila, but I would just say, why past tense there? How did you feel? Why not present tense? How do you feel? That makes more sense. What is the demographic of Glynn's subscribers? Okay, Balhadi, but that's not a follow-up question, because the demographic of Glynn's subscribers is, you know, the majority of Glynn's subscribers are from Uzbekistan and Bangladesh. We want follow-up questions. When I tell you this, the majority of my subscribers are from Uzbekistan and Bangladesh, I want you now to ask a question connected to this. What country most of Glynn's? No, again, Debit, you have problems with very basic logic here. We're not looking for, it's not what is the question that provides this answer, it's what is a follow-up question, right? For example, if I say I'm meeting my friend this evening, the question that you ask to follow up is, who are you meeting, or what are you going to do? And so if I say the majority of my subscribers are from Uzbekistan and Bangladesh, what is a follow-up question to this? A connected question. Yes, great. Finally, are they mostly male or female students? Perfect. That's a good follow-up question. Is it because well-known IELTS instructors from Uzbekistan and Bangladesh promoted this channel? Amazing, Otabek. That is a connected question. What about other countries? Mukadas, fantastic. We got there. Amazing. So those are good, natural follow-up questions to these sentences. We got there in the end. All right. How do you feel about your subscribers? Thank you, Yusuf. No, Mirabos. Where are the majority of Glynn's subscribers from? That is not a follow-up question. So again, One of the biggest challenges as a teachers is just, sometimes when we speak in a different language, our logical skills, our reasoning skills become weaker, right? Mirabos thinks I'm asking what question would give the answer. The majority of Glint subscribers are from Uzbekistan and Bangladesh, but that isn't what I'm asking here. I'm asking what is a follow-up question. And so the ability to follow basic instructions, you should never underestimate this, how important this is. You should never think, oh, I will understand, it will be fine, because so many people have a problem with understanding very basic things in IELTS questions. But let's get to our next part then. So IELTS essay questions, right? These two-part questions can have the same format of like, I'm meeting my friend this evening. Who are you meeting? What are you going to do? We can have the same thing, right? You can have a statement, and then you have first question, second question. So I won't explain this. I'll just show some examples of this, right? You have a sentence. Happiness is often considered difficult to define. That's the statement. Then we get question 1, why is this? And what factors determine happiness? Question 2. Similarly, you might have in education and employment, some people work harder than others. That's the statement. Question 1, why do some people work harder? Question 2, is it always a good thing to work hard? So those are the kinds of questions. Or actually, these are the exact questions that we will deal with in today's session. Hope those are visible. So I'm going to take this question about happiness. That's going to be my question. And this one is going to be your question. Now, I will put that question in two places. Probably you'll want to copy and paste it somewhere if you're going to do some writing today. So I'm going to post it in two places. The first place will be in the chat. So that's going to be your question. You don't need it right now, but I will also post it in my Telegram channel just in case you need it there. But more on that in a moment. We're going to get back to structure. So let's move on then. So the first thing that we do, or let me ask you, what is the first thing that you do when you're writing an IELTS essay, right? So let's say you're going to do some practice. You find an IELTS question. What's the first thing that you do? Please comment in the chat. And I will wait patiently. Again, I'll repeat the question. If you are doing an IELTS practice essay, you have your question, you give yourself 40 minutes. What's the first thing that you do? Damirov says brainstorming. Any other ideas? Cool. Okay, plan for around 5 to 10 minutes. Planning. Cool. So yeah, planning is important. Paraphrasing, Yusuf, yeah, that's kind of paraphrasing when we get to the introduction. Analyze the question, absolutely. Understand the question. Yeah, so that is the first thing that I want to do, right? Whenever I look at try to create a beautiful background sentence, no, that should not be the first thing that you do. Okay, make possible points on the answer. Great. So lots of decent answers here. So the first thing I do, I read the question and immediately I read the question a second time. So I'm going to just delete this stuff here. So my question is this first one. This is the one that I am going to answer today, this one. So happiness is often considered difficult to define. Well, what does it mean to define a word? Well, define a word means to write, in other words, what that word means, right? To write the meaning of a word. For example, if I think of the definition of telephone, I think, okay, an electronic device that people use to make telephone calls, to write messages, and to access the internet. Great. If I think of something like headphones, I think, okay, the definition of headphones is a device that we connect to our phones or to our computers that allow us to listen to something so that other people can't hear it. Great. So happiness. When I think of happiness, according to this question, happiness is often considered difficult to define. Now, this is not the thing that I can agree with or disagree with. This is not the thing to be discussed here. I should just accept this, whether I agree or disagree. According to this question, I have to accept happiness is often considered difficult to define. Why is this? So I need to talk about the reasons. I need to give reasons why happiness is difficult to define. And what factors determine happiness? So that tricky word determine, like lead to or cause, or what do we need to have to be happy? And so I need to think about this. So now that I feel like I understand my question fully, I'm going to get into brainstorming. So even before I think of my beautiful background statement, before I think of my structure or anything else, I just want to think of the main ideas, the main content for my essay. And I want to think of about 3 or 4 ideas for each question. I have 2 questions in total. First, why is happiness difficult to define? Now, when I'm brainstorming, I try not to, make decisions about good or bad ideas. I just want to get a bunch of ideas out there. So why is happiness difficult to define? People are stupid, maybe. People are stupid. Happiness is many different things. Maybe happiness has different words in other languages. Maybe that makes it difficult. Happiness is kind of subjective, isn't it? It's subjective. It's different for all people. Happiness is an abstract noun. If we're describing concrete nouns like phones, they're easy to define. If it's abstract nouns like freedom, love, happiness, that makes it difficult. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ideas. Now, this one, people are stupid. That's a terrible answer to give in an academic essay, so I'm going to say no to that. Happiness is many different things. It's kind of, it's joy, it's satisfaction, it's contentment. Maybe it's the absence of bad things. So I like that. I think I could talk about that. Happiness has different words in other languages. I don't love that idea. Happiness is subjective. Yeah, I like that. I think I can talk about that. Happiness is subjective. I can speak about that. Happiness is an abstract noun. Nope, too linguistic. I'm showing here that I'm thinking of it as a teacher, not as a regular human. So these are my 2 ideas that I'm going to go with in the essay. Great. Question 2, what factors determine happiness? So many things here. Money, relationships, family, kind of connected, friends, romance, sport make us happy, good health, that makes us happy. In some cases, maybe drugs can make some people feel some kind of happiness. I wouldn't talk about it in IELTS, but this is a brainstorm, so I'm just getting a bunch of ideas out there. Having lots of subscribers, that makes some people happy, doesn't it? Getting good marks at school, great. So all of these are things that make us happy. Food, that makes a lot of people happy, doesn't it? Accomplishing goals, running marathons, climbing mountains. So all of these are things that can, make some people happy. Now I need to decide now which ones do I think I can speak about best in IELTS. So in an academic essay, I don't really like people who are so focused on money, and I don't really believe that money can buy you happiness. I think money can be good, but I don't want to say money. Relationships, yeah, and I think I can speak about a lot of things with relationships. That includes family, friends, and maybe even romance. Sports feels not general enough. Lots of people, for some people, sports is happy, but it's not broad enough for all people. Health, I think, absolutely is, right? We all want to be healthy, and I think we all kind of want some type of relationship. So all of these I'm going to cover red. I don't need them. Great. But the idea of the brainstorm is that we remove the filter from our mind. We take away the filter and we just say, okay, can I create just a bunch of ideas, and then later I will select the good ones. And so I'm going to ask you guys to do the same thing. If you want to write them in the chat, you can write them in the chat. If you want to write them separately, you can write them separately. But I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes just to brainstorm some ideas in response to your questions. So remember, your overall question is, in education and employment, some people work harder than others, but you should brainstorm answers to these 2 questions. Why do some people work harder than others? And is it always a good thing to work hard? You should choose yes or no, and then choose your reasons why yes or why no. So I'm going to disappear just for a few moments. You guys will have 5 minutes to do your brainstorm. Your time starts now. It's not enough, Jasselbeck, to say no. You should think of brainstorm reasons why it's not a good thing. So let's take a look at some of these ideas. Mr. Yushugiev, sorry, so difficult. To make a name. Okay, maybe that makes sense to you. For the satisfaction after hard work, absolutely. Eventual success, cool. And I would think of brainstorming deeper into there. What success? Financial success, recognition from your boss. Do you mean like getting a promotion, maybe becoming a boss? For vigorous promises from parents, yeah. External pressure from parents, teachers, bosses, sure. Looking at inspiring narratives, some people, like factory workers, often work more diligently because, okay, but the problem you have inspiring narratives is you're writing in full sentences here. This is a brainstorm. We want to write in notes. Short, simple, easy to understand ideas. We don't want, and that, Mr. Yushugev, yeah, absolutely. I wrote it randomly. It's a brainstorm. You don't need to worry about whether it's a brainstorm, doesn't matter. But I would say to inspiring narratives, in your brainstorm, don't write in full sentences. It's a complete waste of time. The brainstorm is for you. My real name is Mirzo, that helps. So again, inspiring narratives is posted, but it's full sentence. Although working harder can be detrimental to health, it is a good thing. We don't want, if we are writing in full sentences, then we are not going to create a number of different ideas. And when we brainstorm, we are not writing the essay now, inspiring narratives. We are brainstorming. We are working with our brain to understand, what are some good ideas, what are some bad ideas. And the idea is that if you write a bunch of different ideas, then it will be easier to select 2 of those and write about them. Promotion and earn money for their desires. But not enough ideas there, Bunny X. The purpose of a brainstorm, right? I tried to create, so if we look at my brainstorm again, look how many ideas I have here, right? I have a bunch of different ideas, and then that allows me to select the best ones. If you only brainstorm 2 ideas, then you are left with those 2 ideas to write about, and they might not be good ones, right? If I brainstorm just 2 ideas, people are stupid and happiness is different, is many different things, then I would have to write about why people are stupid, and that's not really a relevant point of view. So in our brainstorm, it's important to have a number of different ideas so that we can select the best ones. Now, of course, on test day, your brainstorming might be so good that you might not need to brainstorm. You might get 2 clear ideas that work. But one of the most common questions I receive is, I have problems with idea generation. What can I do? And, learning how to brainstorm is the solution to that problem, or one solution. Yusuf says, assist parents, support family. 2, not always relaxing is also important. Those are fine ideas, Yusuf, but again, we just don't have enough. We want to create as many ideas as possible in our brainstorm so that we can select the key ones. So, okay, if you do have your own list of ideas, great. Your next task, of course, should be, just like I've done, to select the ones that are good and to throw away the ones that you don't need. So for me, I'm going to get to my essay. I'm going to talk about, why is it difficult to define? Why is happiness difficult to define? Well, because happiness is many different things and happiness is subjective. And what factors determine happiness, relationships, and health? So those are my ideas now. I know what I'm going to write about. Now I have to get into the essay. And I'm going to start, of course, with the introduction. I'm going to forget about the ideas that I've chosen for the moment. I'm going to come back to them for the body paragraphs. So I'm going to write my introduction here. Now, I know that there are many, many, many different ideas about what you should write in the introduction. I understand that as a candidate preparing for IELTS, you get a lot of information that is contradictory. One person says, don't write a background sentence. The other one says, write a background sentence. One expert says, write a thesis statement. The other one says, don't write a thesis statement. I always think it's important for you to find something that works for you. There is not one way to write an IELTS essay. If anybody tells you you have to follow this structure or you can't get a good mark, probably they are lying to you. But you guys today, if you're doing this writing and you want me to check it, you are going to follow my structure. And so for the introduction, I have a nice, simple three-step structure. If you've seen my video on writing introductions, this will not be new for you. I like to have a simple background sentence about the topic, a reference to the question, and a sentence saying what I will do in the essay. And again, instead of explaining this to you, I'll just write an introduction so you can see how it works. So the first thing I need is a simple background sentence about the topic. What is the topic? The topic is happiness. So I'm going to write, what can I say about happiness? And I'm going to try to keep my language as simple as possible. I'm not going to put a special like native speaker polish or something like this. I'm going to try to keep ideas simple because task response is the biggest problem that people have. So, Simple sentence about happiness, background sentence. Okay. It is not controversial to say that most people in the world want to be happy. Boom. Done. Amazing. Look at that. Maybe you don't know the word controversial. You know, that might be a difficult word for you. Yeah, but it is not controversial to say that most people in the world want to be happy. That's a nice background sentence about happiness, isn't it? However, so now I want a reference to the question. And the reference to the question is, a reference to the statement that happiness is often considered difficult to define. However, creating a precise definition for happiness is not as easy as it may appear. Okay, I have a little bit of shine, a little bit of polish on this. Creating a precise definition for happiness is not as easy as it may appear. That's the reference to the question. So I have one background statement. Boom, done. Reference to this idea, happiness is often difficult to define, with a paraphrase. That's idea number 2. That's the reference to the question. And now, what am I going to do in this essay? In this essay, I will explain why happiness is difficult to define. And say what I believe. Okay, let's make it a little bit easier. I will explain why happiness is difficult to define and say what things I believe most people need to be happy. Cool. So let's just color code this just so you can see the 3 different parts. Now again, it's not very polished. You know, it's, if I was writing it for a university task, I would definitely change the wording. But this is just IELTS. It's not university level. It's quite straightforward. We want to be clear. So here are the 3 different parts that hopefully you can see. It is not controversial to say that most people in the world want to be happy. Background about the topic. However, creating a precise definition for happiness is not as easy as it may appear. That's a reference to the question. In this essay, I will explain why happiness is difficult to define, comma, and say what things I believe most people need to be happy. Now, that's a very complex sentence. It might not be... I think it's perfectly readable to the target reader, so I don't think I will change it. But if this was for a B2 student, I think that last and say what things I believe, they have a lot of embedding there. So for a B2 student, that might be a difficult sentence to understand. But color-coded 1, 2, and 3, I have my introduction. Awesome. You guys are now going to have 4 minutes to write your introduction. I'll pull mine. I'll pull my introduction down here so you can see it. Oh, actually, I'll leave this slide. I'll leave this slide on. You have your essay question, I hope. Yeah, I'll give you 4 minutes to write your own introduction. On test day, follow any structure you want on test day. Today, if you want me to check your writing, you have to follow my structure. Sorry. So I'll give you 4 minutes now. Mirzo, no questions yet, unfortunately. We'll take questions at the end. Yeah, 4 minutes to write your own introduction. Go. Mirza is asking what topic. I gave you your essay question at the beginning. You can also find your essay question on my Telegram channel, but I won't repeat the question. It's been given. Your essay question about work. That's what you should write. I see that some people are asking questions. I'm not taking questions at the moment. I think the instructions that I'm giving to write this are all very, very clear. If you have questions, right, just write them down and I will take questions at the end, but I'm not going to disturb people's writing by answering questions yet. Sorry. 2 minutes left. All right, so hopefully that's enough time. Hopefully that's enough time for you to write your introduction. You don't need to send your writing anywhere. If you want to post it in the chat, you're welcome, but you don't need to send it anywhere yet. At the end, I will let you know where you can send stuff. So that's my introduction done, following this very, very simple stuff. Yeah, introduction complete. Awesome. Let's get on to the body paragraphs. I'm just going to copy my writing because I will need that. Okay. So, body paragraphs. Now, this is, of course, the most important part. This is where your ideas will be developed, where they will be explained, and that will make or break your score for task response. So, let's just go through some of my notes here. So, body paragraph 1, I know. Why is happiness difficult to define? That's what I need to speak about. Body paragraph 2, what factors determine happiness? Cool. And so you know, this is, I like the questions, do you agree or disagree? Because then I can speak about a lot more. I can develop points much better than I can in a question like this, where information will need to be packed in. But that's okay. That's okay. I will manage it. So my body paragraph 1, why is happiness difficult to define? Body paragraph 2, what factors determine happiness? So this is going to be my structure. Reason 1 why happiness is difficult to explain. And I am not going to waste a paragraph. Sorry, I'm not going to waste a sentence by saying there are many reasons why it is difficult to define happiness. I've already done that in the introduction. I see this so often. Topic sentence which is vague, it doesn't give any details, it just says there are a number of reasons why da 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 da. We're going to just get right in there with the first argument. Then I'm going to explain it. If I think my explanation is great, I won't need any examples or evidence. However, if I feel like an example or some evidence will support my explanation, I'll add it. I might not have room to do that twice, but I do want to get through 2 reasons. So reason 2 why happiness is difficult to explain or define, and an explanation of what I mean. And then I'm going to be a bit stylish and I'm going to try to put a link to body paragraph 2. We'll see that in a moment. Then body paragraph 2, I need to say what factors determine happiness. Well, happiness factor 1 is going to be personal relationships. I need to explain that. And then happiness factor 2 is going to be health. I'll need to explain that. And again, I have to be careful with my word count. I am not going to write more than 300 words, and I'm not going to check any piece of writing that is more than 300 words. So I need to be concise. So I might not have room for so many examples or for so much evidence, but let's see. Shouldn't be too difficult to do this. So I have copied, I hope, I have copied my essay so far. Cool. So, why is happiness difficult to explain? I just want to remind myself of my brainstorming ideas. One is that happiness is subjective, and one is that it means many things. So I'm just going to write that on the side. Cool. Yeah, let's talk about subjectivity first. So, instead of saying there are many reasons why it is difficult to define happiness, I'm going to jump straight in and say the first reason why happiness is why it is hard to define happiness is that it is subjective. Great. That's my topic sentence. Happiness is hard to define because it's subjective. Now I need to explain what I mean. When I say it's subjective, the target reader will say, okay, it's subjective. What do you mean it's subjective? Well, let me explain. My next sentence, I'm going to explain what I mean. For some people, okay, let's explain subjectivity first, is that it is subjective. This means that happiness for one person is not necessarily the same for another person. What do you mean? Give an example. For example, the idea of lying on the sofa all day and doing nothing might be one person's idea of happiness, but this might be another person. I'm trying to think of just a nice word here. So, for example, the idea of lying on the sofa all day and doing nothing might be one person's idea of happiness, but this might be totally unappealing to another. Okay, so I've got the first part done. I've explained reason 1, it's subjective. I've explained what it means to be subjective. Happiness for one person is not necessarily the same for another person. And then I've given an example of lying on the sofa. that could be happiness for one person, but not for another. Totally unappealing. I'm going to change totally for highly because I think highly is more academic. So just a little bit of polish. So great. That's half of my paragraph, maybe 2/3 of my paragraph. Now I need to go, if I'm following my structure, the next thing I need to do is reason 2 why happiness is difficult to explain. Now I don't have so many words here, but okay. Another problem with defining happiness is that it consists of many different feelings. For example, elation and so elation is this like, wow, amazing. Elation and contentment are both connected to happiness, but have, no comma, but have noticeably different meanings. Great, that's body paragraph 1 done. So let's just analyze this body paragraph 1 again, just to show you what I've done. I have my label. This is my first reason. It's subjective. What do I mean? Well, happiness for one person is not the same for another person. Can I give an example? For example, the idea of lying on the sofa all day. Cool, that's one example. Great. Another problem with defining, I have a spelling mistake there. I'm going to check that immediately. I will check at the end. Is that it consists of many different feelings. I've used for example, so I'm going to change for instance, elation and contentment are both connected to happiness, but have noticeably different meanings. Cool. All right. So that's my body paragraph 1 done. Does it have amazing shine? No, I'm just writing simple ideas. But I am going to get to body paragraph 2. I'm going to try to do this quite quickly. Let's move this down. So what do I need to do in body paragraph 2? Let's just remind myself. So in body paragraph 2, I'm going to talk about happiness factor 1 and happiness factor 2. Now, the two happiness factors that I've gone with are relationships and health. So one thing that I haven't done, and I think it's because my body paragraph is quite long, I haven't put a link to body paragraph 2, but I'm not going to cry about that. I don't need it. Great. I'm going to jump to the next one. Okay, so I'll put the link to body paragraph 1 in body paragraph 2. Maybe. No, I'm going to jump straight into it. I'm going to jump straight into body paragraph 2. So what factors determine happiness? Or maybe I will put just a small link. Despite happiness being difficult to define, I believe that all people, or I believe that personal relationships are essential for happiness. Again, what do I mean here? Humans are social animals, and even the most introverted people need friendships or contact with family members from time to time. Cool. Don't think I need another example. I think I'm okay there. I think I can move on to health now. Another crucial. Now, I don't want to use thing because thing feels not very academic. Another crucial factor is health. Again, nice and simple, right? So easy. Another crucial factor is health. Great. It is difficult, or it would seem inappropriate to describe someone who is suffering, and I can shorten that, someone suffering from a chronic and painful illness as happy. Another crucial factor is health. Cool. It would seem inappropriate to describe someone suffering from a chronic and painful illness as happy. Therefore, therefore, some minimum requirement of good health is needed to be happy. Cool. If I'm a philosophy student, do I love that? No, but just looking at the balance of the essay, I think it looks quite nice so far. If I think of the length, I think, okay, introduction is quite short, body paragraphs are a little bit longer. Awesome. Great. So those are my body paragraphs written rather quickly, written in one take without too much editing, but hopefully you get the idea. So, kind of boring for you to listen, I'm sure, to me doing this, but this is the structure that I want you to follow. Your body paragraph 1 you should be going back to, let's pull up your question again. Now you should be going back to your brainstorm. To check what your ideas are. Let's go right back to the start and get your question. And then maybe I'll just change your structure slightly. Copy that there. Oh, conclusion, not yet. So let's put this down here. Your question. So this is your question here. Body paragraph 1, I want to see 2 reasons why some people work harder. Let's add this. Body paragraph 1, 2 reasons why some people work harder. Body paragraph 2, 2 reasons why it is or isn't always a good thing to work hard. That's all I want from you. Nothing more, just this. Yeah, hope that's clear. So this is the part where I'll disappear for the longest. I'm going to give you 14 minutes to write your body paragraphs. I'll try and make it visible. I'll try and make it so that, my body paragraphs and the task is visible. So let's put that there. Let's put this box here. Let's put that there. Yeah, I think that's all visible now. So I'll give you guys 14 minutes to write your 2 body paragraphs. Again, there are questions in the chat. Again, I am not answering questions right now. If you want to have questions, ask them at the end. But your 14 minutes to write your body paragraphs start now. Okay, if you are writing, if you, and I don't know how many people are, if you are writing and you've finished your body paragraphs, can you write in the chat finished? If you are writing and you haven't finished your body paragraphs yet, can you write in the chat not finished? I know there's a delay, so I will just wait a little bit. I don't think there are many people writing what they should be writing. So if you are one of the people who's actually writing this essay about education and employment, then you have a very strong chance of having your work checked, because I don't think people, I don't think many people are here doing writing. Mukada says not finished, says Faradil. Okay, cool. So quite a few people haven't finished yet. I'll give you a bit more time. I'll check on you again. I'll disappear for 5 or 6 minutes. I'll come back and I'll ask again. No rush. So many people are asking where to send, can I send? We haven't finished yet. This is guided writing. It means that I walk you through writing an introduction, writing body paragraphs, and writing a conclusion. Now, I will check work that follows the instructions that I've given. If we haven't finished the conclusion yet, how can you possibly have finished doing your writing? If you have written your own conclusion, then great, but I'm not going to check your work if you don't follow the instructions that I give in this lesson. Sorry. Okay, so I think we've probably had enough time to do the body paragraphs. At least if you haven't finished, maybe come back. Just copy the essay that I've done so far. So, getting to the conclusion. I don't need anything crazy here, right? I'm going to use, the first thing I'm going to say is in conclusion. Hopefully this is all visible. Yep. The first thing I'm going to write is in conclusion. Then I'm going to give a summary of my ideas. So let's do that. Let's do that first of all. So I'm going to write in conclusion. Usually we don't like memorized bits of language, but in conclusion is always fine. In conclusion. Now, what is a summary of my ideas? Oh, I need to think. Let's put my essay there. Okay. In conclusion, defining now, I've said it is difficult, so I need to work with my paraphrasing a little bit. Defining happiness presents difficulties because of its subjective nature and that it encompasses a variety of different emotions. In conclusion, defining happiness presents difficulties because of its subjective nature and that it encompasses a variety of emotions. But certain things, okay, do I want things? Certain, yeah, I'm okay. Let's keep it simple. Certain things such as, so again, I've used for instance, certain things such as, certain things such as personal relationships and health are contributing factors. Okay, it's a little bit complex. Let's keep it nice and simple. Certain things such as personal relationships and good health are required for almost all people to be happy. Great, that's my summary of my ideas, right? All 4 of my ideas have been summarized. The subjective nature of happiness. It encompasses a variety of different emotions, personal relationships and good health. In the beginning, I did a brainstorm and I picked out those 4 ideas. Now, in my conclusion, I've summarized all 4 of those ideas. Well done, Glyn. But also, maybe I will add just a nice little reflective comment. Now, this is the thing that, it's stylistic. You don't always need it. People often find it difficult, but I like to wrap up the essay nicely with some type of personal comment. And that I'm going to do that with, while having a definition for happiness can be useful, I believe it is far more important to achieve happiness. Right, I think that's that kind of, it is on topic, we're talking about happiness, but it's kind of broader again. I'm saying here that, yeah, definition, of course it's useful to have a definition, but the important thing is, we should want to achieve happiness. And I think that's fine. As a conclusion, absolutely fine. Great. So I'm going to just put my essay together because it's kind of there in different parts. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to tag that onto there. Great. I need to do a word count too in a moment. I'm going to go back to my previous page. I had my introduction there, I believe. Cool. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to fourth page. Great. I'm going to put that at the beginning. Now, I don't know how many words this is, but I'm confident that, you know, it's an appropriate number of words. I hope. I will check in a moment. I don't have a word count checker on Zoom, so I will have to put this somewhere else. But that's my essay. Awesome. You guys now, I want you to do your own conclusion. I'll give you just 4 or 5 minutes to write your own conclusion. Please also don't do anything crazy. Keep it nice and simple. Use in conclusion. Make a summary of your main ideas that you brainstormed, and don't 100% need it, but it would be nice to see some type of reflective comment that wraps up the essay. I'll move my writing up here so you can see my conclusion as you're writing your own. Your 4 or 5 minutes to write your conclusion start now. So a couple of people have written that they've finished. Rahmatilo's put his conclusion in there. I'm not going to read people's writing in the conclusion yet, only to see if you're off topic. Rahmatilo is writing about happiness, completely off topic. You're not talking about happiness. I'm writing the essay on happiness. Your essay question I've put here multiple times. I've put it in the Telegram channel. Your task is to write about employment and people being competitive, and is working hard always a good thing? So yeah, Rahmatilo, you're off topic. Congrats. So it's always the first thing, guys, understanding what question you have to write, what question you have to respond to. Jasubek is saying, can I send it now? Please stop asking me that. We haven't finished yet. When it's time to send, I will let you know when it's time to send. Please don't ask me the same question 15 times, because it means when it comes to checking, maybe I will think, well, you know what? Jasubek was just a little bit too aggressive, just asking all the time, can I send it? Can I send it? Can I send it? Whereas the other people were more respectful and didn't ask that. When it's time to send it, Jasubek, I will tell you for the 8th time. At the end, I will let you know where and how and when you can send it. Faridi says my target is just 5.5. Yeah, it's fine. Some people have a target of 5.5. Others have a target of 9. You should always write, for the target score that you want to get. I'm trying not to make mine too complicated. It's 269 words in total, which is, for me, great. For me, 270, 280 words, that's exactly where it should be. Now, you might think that you are done, but you're not done yet, because the last step is proofreading, and this is an important thing. People always, they write it and they want to send it. I'm going to make this point with the help of my pen. The first person to check your writing should always be you. It should not be me. It should not be your teacher. It should not be an examiner. The first person to check your writing should always be you. Very important. The examiner should not find typos. You can find typos or other grammatical slips. Grammatical mistakes, we know there will be grammatical mistakes. That always happens, and that's not a problem. But slips, grammar that you know, when you read it and you say he like, and you go, oh no, of course, he likes, of course. Or it good, you think, no, not it good, it is good. The simple grammatical mistakes, if you are a good, conscientious learner of English, you probably know the kinds of mistakes that you often make, and when you're proofreading your work, you should check this. Now, if you're a super high-level candidate, if you're a Sedvachik, the proofreading stage, you might want to add some polish, some style. You might want to try to elevate your work a little bit. If you're writing computer-based, you don't want to use an eraser to rub out the pencil and then write it in. But if you're computer-based, this might be the time for you to make some stylistic changes. Me, I don't care about polish and style in my essay, but I do want to make sure that my ideas are perfectly clear. As candidates, especially for writing, you should be paranoid about people potentially misunderstanding. Is my language too complex? Is it too complicated? Does my idea make sense? If I gave this to 10 different people, how many people would be confused by what I've written? And so that's such an important thing, because, so many pieces of writing I read and I think, I just don't know what the candidate is saying. It kind of looks nice that there are lots of complex bits of language, but I don't know. And I mentioned this before, that you should pass the imaginary friend test, right? And the imaginary friend test is, after I read your writing, I want to imagine that my friend has just walked through the door and he says, okay, what does Rahmatilo think about work and unemployment? Does he think it's always a good thing that people work very hard? I want to be able, without looking back at Rahmatilo's essay or Jasurbek's essay or Muhammad John's essay, I want to be able to speak to my friend Martin and say, oh yeah, he thinks it's always a good idea because da 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 da, right? if I'm saying to my friend, my friend, like, I don't know, he said something about this, but I wasn't quite sure, then your task response, you're not going to get a great score. So making sure your ideas are clear, so important. Word count is also an important thing. I've written 269 words. Your maximum, I will not check anything more than 300 words for this. If you followed my structure step by step, you won't have more than 300 words. So again, if you're hoping for me to check your work, you have to make sure that it's not more than 300 words. Again, on IELTS test day, can you write more than 300 words? Yes. Can you get a band 9 by writing 500 words? Yes. Should you write 500 words? Absolutely not. For 99% of people. So I'm just going to proofread my work just to make sure that it all kind of makes sense. It's 269 words. Let's just take a look. And I'll just highlight any bits that I like or dislike. It is not controversial. I like this, not controversial. It's not controversial to say that most people in the world want to be happy. Cool, clear. However, creating a precise definition, nice vocab for happiness is not as easy as it may appear. Maybe I want to use italics here for happiness, but I don't need it. Is not as easy as it may appear. Beautiful academic distancing language, very easy to understand. In this essay, I will explain why happiness is difficult to define and say what things I believe most people need to be happy. Okay, I'm going to maybe just change that slightly and outline the most important things needed for happiness. Cool. I'm just changing it slightly and outline the most important things needed for happiness. I like this reduced relative clause. That's good stuff. Instead, which are needed, just things needed. Cool, complex grammar. Amazing. Okay. Moving on, the first reason, good signposting language, the first reason why it is hard to define happiness is that it is subjective. I love how my topic sentences are short, not complex, easy to understand. Amazing. This means, good cohesion, this means that happiness for one person is not necessarily, beautiful little combo, not necessarily the same for another. Maybe I can remove that word person, not necessarily the same for another. That makes it more cohesive. For example, good cohesion. The idea of lying on the sofa all day and doing nothing might be might be good modality, one person's idea of happiness, but this might be, again, this good cohesion might be, again, I've used might be quite a few times. I'm just going to change that might to may. Maybe highly unappealing. I like this use of highly. It's better than something like extremely or totally in academic writing. And unappealing, good use of prefixes to another. Cool. Another problem. Okay, I've used another and another. I don't like that repetition. I'm going to go, instead of another, I'm going to say a further. So I'm not repeating. A further problem with defining happiness is that happiness consists of many different feelings. Again, notice how simple my topic sentences are. A further problem with defining happiness is that it consists of many different feelings. Точка. Amazing. For instance, good. Elation, good language, and contentment are both connected to happiness, but have noticeably different meanings. Great. Fine. Despite good use of the contrast, and despite happiness being very complex grammar here, lovely structure, being difficult to define, comma, I believe that personal relationships are essential for happiness. Okay, I believe, do I want to include this personal language? I think it's okay. It's my position. I believe that personal relationships are essential, good, for happiness. Humans are social animals, good, and even the most introverted people, I probably should have a comma here. And even the most introverted people need friendships or contact with family members from time to time. Good use of from time to time instead of sometimes. Okay, I've used another again. Maybe I'm not happy with so much another, but okay. Another crucial factor is health. Again, look at how beautiful this topic sentence is. Another crucial factor is health. Simple, to the point, easy to understand. It would seem inappropriate to describe someone suffering from, again, nice reduced relative clause, from a chronic and painful illness, wonderful vocab, as happy. Okay, I have 3 Ps, I should only have 2. Therefore, comma, some minimum requirement of good health is needed to be happy. Great, happy with that. In conclusion, defining happiness presents difficulties because of its subjective nature, and maybe I want to change that just to because. because it doesn't follow from that because of, sorry, and because, and since. Yeah, since is nice. There's a nice synonym. Let's remove that. Because of its subjective nature and since it encompasses a variety of different emotions, comma, but certain things such as personal relationships and good health are required for almost all people to be happy. While having a definition for happiness can be useful, comma, I believe it is far more important to... Okay. I want to change that. I believe that achieving happiness is where our focus should be. Okay, so I just changed it slightly. Again, stylistically, I think that's easier to understand. Achieving happiness is where our focus should be. Is what our focus should be on. Great, that's even nicer. I believe that achieving happiness is what our focus should be on, not simply defining it. Cool. So I've made a couple of stylistic changes. I always make stylistic changes when I check my work. You guys should too. Checking at the end is important. I've made my stylistic changes. Now for the final step. It's up to you guys. Spend maximum of 5 minutes proofreading, editing your work, and please do make sure that your work is not more than 300 words. Your proofreading time starts now. Mirzo, right now, you should be reading your work and editing your work, just like I did. You've just seen me do this, right? You've seen me reading and editing my work. Now you should do the same. I really find it difficult to believe that you can't follow the simplest instruction. Like I've do what I just did. I showed you how I edit my work. Now you should edit your work. Okay, so that's probably enough time to do your proofreading and editing. Thank you, Brian, long-term friend of the channel, for your positive comment. Yeah, I think these guided writings, they're incredibly useful for candidates who are serious about improving their writing. But that's just my opinion. Okay, so now, of course, what everyone's asking, I'm ready to send. Can I send? 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 So I'm just posting now a message on my Telegram channel, which says, if you're, that is there, right? Yeah. If you're in the live stream and have written a response to the question below, you can post your essay here. So now that message in the Telegram channel, you can post your essay in response as a reply to that message. I am now going to look through those pieces of writing. And if I can find two that actually follow the instructions that I've given, then I will check them. If I can't find two, then I will not check them. So hopefully at least two of you have been listening, and at least two of you have followed this, follow these instructions. Let's have a look. Okay. First person, that looks a little bit long. I'm going to just count the words. Copy. $296. Oh, you're so close. I'm just checking, just reading through some things. So sorry if things fall quiet. I just want to make sure that people make sure that I have a piece of writing that follows the rules. Nope. So Kusochik Shastya, sorry, you don't have three things in your introduction. You only have two things in your introduction. You have a background sentence, and then you have in this essay, I will, to follow my instructions. Unfortunately, you need to have those three things in the introduction. Let me show you again what I mean. So let's go back to page 1 where I dealt with introductions. We need to have those three things: a simple background sentence. You know, I have a blue, I have brown, and I have green. Kusochik Shastya, unfortunately, you don't have those three things, so your work won't be checked. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's have a look at Damirov or Damirov. Nope, you have the same. You don't have three things in the introduction. So Damirov, I will not check your work because I want those three things in the introduction. Let's check the next piece of work. Haki. It is common, however, Okay, you have three things in the introduction. Nice. Okay, it looks like we have the first piece of work that we can check, and that is by Haki. So I'm just going to copy and paste this, and we'll look at it together. So, where should I put this? Let's put it down here. Text. Okay, I need to find out where the paragraphs are. That's the first paragraph. 1 second, just give me a moment, guys. Hardworking people and in any situation. That's the next paragraph, and the last one should be in conclusion. Has the candidate used in conclusion? Yes, he has. Great. Okay, so I think we can get into checking our first piece of writing. So we have Haki's piece, and I will be quite fast with this. All right, let's take a look at this. Get my pen out. It is common knowledge that to achieve different goals in life, we need to work hard. Okay, cool. That's fair enough background. However, the amount of effort everyone makes might be different. Yeah, well, the text says that it is different, but fine. In this essay, I will explain why some people tend to work harder than their peers. Cool. And why working harder is always a good strategy. Great. We're fine with the introduction. Nice. Hardworking people are usually internally motivated. Nice, simple sentence there. They have a strong will to succeed and they believe that working hard will get them closer to their goals. Great. That explains internally motivated. Students targeting medical schools, lovely little participle there. Students targeting medical schools, for instance, nice, study harder to achieve the highest possible grades as they understand that their dream schools only offer seats to those with the best academic performance. Are we on topic with being internally motivated? Let's see. Students targeting, yeah, okay, that's fine because they're doing it for themselves. Students without such goals do not feel the need to work as hard. Okay. Oh, we don't have two different points here. We only have 1 point. Yeah, so I'm not going to... Oh, no, maybe we do. Some others may excel in... It's not really clear, but let's see. Students without such goals do not feel the need to work as hard. Maybe that's topic sentence 2, maybe a little bit strange. Doesn't feel like we have a separate point. They simply do not share the same goal. Maybe a little bit poorly connected. Some others may excel in sports and make it their goal to be a professional athlete at the national level. Not sure where we are now with this. Yeah, are we really on topic now? Some others may excel in sport and make it their goal to be a professional athlete. In this case, they will train harder to achieve that dream. So you only have 1 point really in this body paragraph, and you really should have 2. In any situation, working hard is beneficial as it is the main recipe for success. Nice, simple topic sentence. Even when the results are not immediate, hard work will eventually pay off. For example, some of those hardworking students may not be able to get into their dream programs competitions. However, again, you don't have 2 points here. So I'm going to stop. Sorry, but I'm going to stop checking your work because it's clear you haven't followed the structure of point 1, explanation, point 2, explanation. I'm really sorry, but I'm only going to check work that actually follows the instructions that I gave. And unfortunately, Haki, good with the introduction, but you didn't follow the advice for body paragraphs. Let's have a look at Dilshadkhon. Yeah, Dilshadkhon hasn't used paragraphs, it looks like. Oh, maybe it's there. But in the intro, on the one, no, Dilshadkhon hasn't followed this structure at all. There's no thesis statement in there saying in this essay I will blah 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 blah. So Dilshadkhon hasn't followed that. Let's have a look at Mirzo. Let's see if he's done it. Working hard to attain something has become quite ubiquitous. It's important. In this essay, I will. Cool. The first reason to elaborate the next reason. Okay, it looks like we have 1 piece of work that can actually be checked. It looks like we have 1 piece of work, you guys, that can actually be checked. Let me just take another look at this. And that's Mirzo's. Okay, copy selected text. Sorry that this is taking a while. I really didn't think everyone would fail to follow the instructions. I'm kind of surprised by that, but I should learn not to be surprised by people. A good thing there are many. The first reason. Although working harder. Sorry, it's just I don't have paragraphing and I have to find out where the paragraphing is. Okay, so let's try to check another piece of writing and see if we actually can. So the next piece of writing from Mirzo, let's have a look. Now, first thing that you should find is typos. You didn't put a space here. And so my question to you, Mirzo, is why didn't you find this when you were editing your work? Only a small thing, but you should find this stuff. Anyway, working hard to attain something in an academic or professional career has become quite ubiquitous. Okay, I don't see the need for quite here, has become ubiquitous. However, it is important to consider whether putting in too much effort is always a good thing. Is that a reference to the question? I just want to pull up our first question, make sure that we are on topic. So you haven't addressed this. I don't know. Oh, let's see. Let's go back to your writing first before I make any judgments. Great. So in education and employment, some people work harder than others. We have some problems here. Let's go through it then. So working hard to attain something in an academic or professional career has become ubiquitous. However, it is important to consider whether putting in too much effort is always a good thing. In this essay, all the possible reasons for what will be clearly elucidated. We want in this essay, and then we want I will give reasons why some people work harder, and I will explain why it is or isn't a good thing. So unfortunately, Mirzo, you've failed in the introduction too, because I think I clearly said that in your introduction, you need to say whether it's a good or a bad thing. But I'll continue checking. I don't want to be too harsh. There is an attempt to follow the instructions, but you have to take a position here. Is it always a good thing in the introduction? I need to know this. You need to tell me. The better one is, okay, working hard to attain something in academic or professional career has become ubiquitous. Cool. However, well, you can't say it's ubiquitous because some people work harder than others. However, there is a difference in how much effort people put into the work that they do. In this essay, I will give the reasons for this difference and explain why I believe it is a positive or negative development. Right? That's what we need. Okay, but the first reason, good. The first reason for an increased aspiration to complete a specific task, this is a horribly complex noun. Increased aspiration to complete. So we have the head noun aspiration, the pre-modification, unincreased, the post-modification to complete a specific task. It's too much. With more effort than others is the tremendous pressure exerted by parents. Notice how in my topic sentences, another crucial thing is health. Not crazy long stuff. It should be readable. To elaborate, nice. Guardians, what's wrong with parents? Parents is fine. Guardians often push their offspring to do their best in order to flex to informal, to others with their children's outperformance, that's a strange word, in a certain field, not very specific. The next reason is that you shouldn't use contractions in academic writing, is that it's human nature, maybe I did, I don't know, is that it's human nature to compete. Individuals are inherently driven, I like this inherently driven, very nice, by a desire to surpass their peers. Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful, Mirzo. And gain recognition. Very nice. Which which, I love which motivates them to invest greater effort in tasks that can showcase their abilities. Okay, feels a little bit like you're concentrating too much on language and not quite so much on ideas. But okay, I get kind of the basic idea. Some people work hard because their parents tell them to, and the other reason is that it's, an inherent part of human nature. Fine. So now we should get to whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Because you haven't stated this in the introduction, you will be penalized slightly. Sorry. Although working harder is often associated with success, it is not always a good thing. Beautiful topic sentence. It's clear. The first reason is that excessive effort can lead to burnout. Okay, fine. And I might even think scrap this and say the first reason why working harder is not always a good thing is that it can lead to burnout. You can accomplish in one sentence what you've done in two. To explain, to explain, when individuals constantly push themselves without adequate rest, very nice, comma, they may suffer from physical and mental exhaustion, very nice, very nice, very nice, comma, which in turn reduces their overall productivity and well-being. Cool. Working too hard sometimes actually lowers your productivity. Clear. Another reason is that it can negatively impact personal relationships. Clear, relevant, great. People who overly direct their concentration, uncountable noun, concentration on their objectives may unintentionally neglect their loved ones, comma, which in turn entails emotional void. I don't like this. Use simpler language and weakened social bonds. Why don't you just write something nice like people who put too much concentration on their work might forget that their friends and family also need this attention, and this can lead to some conflict in their personal relations. That's easier to understand than which in turn entails emotional void and weakened social bonds. So yeah. In conclusion, good that you used in conclusion. You can follow instructions. While external pressure and personal ambition can push individuals to achieve more, overexertion may cause exhaustion and affect relationships in a detrimental way. Therefore, a balanced approach is the key to success. I like your conclusion. And you have a nice little reflective comment at the end, personal touch to wrap up the essay. Lots of good things to like about this, Mirzo. Unfortunately, because you didn't state in the introduction what your position is, whether you think it's a good thing or bad thing, you have to take a position in this. So task response, I'm awarding 6. I like the other things with task response. I think if you had just stated, and I will explain why I believe it is not always a good thing, I think that would push you to a 7, maybe to an 8. I don't know. Lexical resource. I do think there is enough lexical resource in there to award an 8. Some of the things like to flex, it's not really stylistic, and sometimes, it seems like you're overusing complex vocab. So there is some awkward use, slightly awkward use, but I think there's probably enough for an 8. Love this inherently driven, surpass their peers, physical and mental exhaustion, all of that's great. That's for lexical resource. I don't know why I skipped coherence and cohesion. So coherence and cohesion, I think I will award that 8 for coherence and cohesion too. You followed the normal structure. Again, in the introduction, it's just a little bit odd the way that you've presented that information. In this essay, I will, but you didn't really say what you're going to write. It doesn't cohere. In this essay, I will explain possible reasons, but then you don't say that in this essay, you'll say whether it's a good or a bad thing. So coherence and cohesion, 8. No grammatical mistakes as I can see. I don't know if you checked your work with ChatGPT or if you are just a god. You had a small problem with punctuation here, which does count against you in grammar, but I would not penalize this thing by itself for one mistake. And I do think there is enough variety of grammar. Yeah, I think we can award the 9 for that. So just again, a little bit of a problem. Overall, this would give you a score of 7.5. But if you can just address that problem with the weakness in the introduction, then you are looking at a solid 8. And I think, yeah, you do have the potential to get something higher. Cool. All right, so I haven't been reading the chat at all. I don't know what people are talking about. I've tried to check a bunch of writing. Unfortunately, so many people didn't follow the instructions, and so I only managed to check one piece of writing. Task response, first body weird. No, I think the first body is okay. Max 7 could be 6.5. Okay, cool. That's like your opinion, bro. I don't know if HMTOY maybe. I don't know if he's speaking about the previous essay or this one. I want to make it academic and show my lexicon. Yeah, but you have to, precision is important. If you want to get band 9, you have to be precise, and some of your language just isn't precise. And using flex in an academic essay, like, come on, bro. We don't write that. So what do you think my real IELTS score is? I've just told you, 7.5 for this essay. 7.5, it's there. Task response 6, lexical resource 8, coherence and cohesion 8, grammatical range and accuracy 9. I don't know if you checked your grammar somewhere. I don't know. HMTOY says task response 6, I agree. Lexical resource 7. No, it's higher than a 7. Grammatical range and accuracy 7. Okay, HMTOY. What is the grammatical mistake there? Oh, sorry. Mirzo says, I'm not kidding. It's 7.5. Oh, but he says, what do you think my real IELTS score is? Yeah, I'm not surprised that your real IELTS score is 7.5. I think you have the potential, maybe, if your language is there, if your grammar and vocab is there, learning how to write an essay, that's the easy part. Learning the language is the difficult part. Learning how to write an essay should be the easy part. Yeah, so thank you for those people who submitted writing. Again, I can't, I'm very, well, not very shocked, but I am a little bit shocked that, when I say in an introduction you need these 3 parts, people just decide to write their own version of the introduction that doesn't have 3 parts. And it's like, well, why did you just not follow the instruction? I don't know. HMTOY says it seemed very confusing. Okay, but again, when you say it, can you point to one grammatical mistake in this piece of writing? I mean, the concentrations instead of concentration, for me, that's a slight vocab error, not... Okay, so Mirzo says I got 6.5 in real IELTS writing. Then I would say if you got 6.5 in real IELTS writing, probably with this writing task, you used ChatGPT to make sure the grammar was correct and to make sure that the vocab was correct. I guess you did some editing with ChatGPT or some other AI, I don't know. But your vocab and grammar are far too high to be 6.5, or maybe you just had a bad structure that really held you back. Jasser says, do you check another essay? Well, this is, I checked one at the beginning and it didn't follow the instructions. I checked another and it didn't follow the instructions. I checked about 80% of another one before realizing it didn't follow the instructions. Faridili says, my essay have 3 parts. No, your introduction needs to have... So let's bring you back. I'm not lying. I might be mistaken, but let's check. So I say in the introduction, we need 3 different parts. We need the blue part, sentence. We need the brown part, sentence. We need the green part, sentence. Now let's have a look at Faridil's introduction. Let's see if I can find it. Are you kusочек счастья, Faridi? I don't know if she's kusочек счастья. Copy selected text. I agree with you. It's not like Shakespeare, though. Yeah, HMTOY, nobody in the world can write like Shakespeare, right? Shakespeare's... I don't even like Shakespeare. You don't need to write like Shakespeare. It's for L2 learners of English. Okay, Faridi, I can't see your writing here. Damirov, Haki, Dishodron, Mirzo... Oh, Faridi does have it. Oh, you do. Yep, Faridi, you do. I haven't looked at your writing. I will say this though. For those of you who have submitted writing, okay, kусочек счастья is you, cool, piece of happiness. For those of you who have submitted writing, I will randomly select one more, and not right now. I have to go and watch Newcastle play football, but I will select one piece of writing from the chat that you've submitted, and I will make a video analyzing that writing and give scores on it. And I'll contact you by Telegram. I don't know whose piece of writing I'll check. It will be randomized, but I will select another piece of writing and make a separate video on it. Thank you for your company. I'm, again, a little bit disappointed that so many people just couldn't follow the most basic instructions, but not massively surprised. But, it happens. People, they have their own structures, and that's okay. If you want to follow your own structure on test day, you're welcome to do that. But in these guided writings, you have to follow the instructions that I give. Sorry. I will stay for just 5 minutes more if anyone has any burning questions. I'll take any burning questions. Faridi says, I followed all your orders. Cool. If you did, great. I haven't, I just can't look at every piece of writing right now, but I will select another piece of writing. But I'll go back to what I said at the beginning of this live stream, which is the benefit that you get from this session is not me checking your writing. The benefit that you get from this session is that you learn this structure of how to write IELTS Task 2, right? So I know, and I knew at the end people would say, what about me? What about my writing? I followed your instructions. What about me? Why don't you check mine? Can I send? Because you're only interested in getting feedback on your writing. I'm just saying that you should be, you should enjoy having the free lesson that teaches you how to write this stuff. Questions versus Aston Villa. Yeah, it's Newcastle, Aston Villa. I guess the second half is starting in 10 minutes. Jasubek says, what is your IELTS score? I guess that's not for me. I'm an L1 user of English. I don't take IELTS. I was thinking about taking it for fun, but there's no point. Band 9. I have a first class honours degree in English language and literature. I have grade A in CELTA. I've been working as a teacher a long time. I don't need to take IELTS. My band is band 9. It's even a joke. Even to ask what kind of words should be there to achieve a high score. Words that are connected to the topic and words that are precise with meaning. What sort of words? The right words. I think you've already heard the news. Starting from May, everyone must use a black pen. Yeah, I heard that stuff about pen, pencil. Again, that's an administrative stuff, and so as an examiner, I just don't focus on any of that administrative stuff with like, oh, the one skill retake, or did you know now that you can ask for your breakdown and you can get your breakdown? That doesn't, I'm interested in the language, assessing and evaluating the language, not the administrative side of IELTS. So I don't know anything. I don't know much about the administrative side of IELTS, but I have heard about the pen to pencil thing. I guess it's just easier to scan. Should it be advanced? The criteria is out there, Severa. You can type IELTS writing band descriptors, and you can see what band 9, band 8, band 7 is. It's written in a very difficult way. Jahid says, why don't you give advice about the other two modules? I might in the future, but I think the most useful use of my time is giving people writing checks and speaking tests. I think that's the thing that people really want. I'm not really much into giving advice. I'm more about saying, okay, this is where your level is right now, and this is, as an examiner, this is why I give you the marks that I give you, and then it's up to you as a candidate to say, okay, the examiner thinks that I have weaknesses in X, Y, and Z. I'm going to go to my teacher. We're going to work on the video together. We're going to look at how I can improve X, Y, and Z, and maybe I'll get a better mark. I'm not really into this giving advice or you should do this, because IELTS is an English test. There are many different ways of passing it, and if you have C1 reading, you'll get C1 in your score for reading. If you have C2 listening, you'll get C2 listening. There are some small strategies that can kind of help, but they're not going to affect the score that much. And, most YouTubers make those videos because they're easy to make. They just, you can ask ChatGPT, give me 5 tips for IELTS listening, and then make a beautiful video and read out the script. Yeah. Shahrior has asked an interesting question. One more question. Is future simple 50-50 probability or 100%? I don't believe that English has future simple tense. I think we have present tense and past tense. We don't have future tense. We have will as a modal verb. For the future, we have be going to as a modal verb. Sometimes they can have high modality, sometimes low. Will probably is different to will definitely. There are arguments in philosophy about whether we can say something is 100% probability for the future. So I don't think English has any future simple tense. I think that's a nonsense. We form the future in English with a variety of different constructions, but we don't have any future tense in English. Will as a modal verb, I will go to the shop, we will win. It could be just a prediction, it could be a strong prediction. It's all context. By itself, will doesn't have 100%. It's certainly stronger than 50. Might feels like the one in the middle. It will happen, definitely or probably. It might happen, maybe. It won't happen, definitely or probably. Yeah. So will is relatively high modality, but it's probably not as high as like it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. It's probably stronger than it will happen. Glyn, do you know about Bezodbek? Nope, don't know who Bezodbek is. Sorry. Please, can you make such live video chats more? Sever, do you know how much time I put into my YouTube channel? Can you point to one IELTS YouTuber that makes more videos and live streams than me? I do this every day. Come on. Will Newcastle win? I don't know. Villa's pretty good. I checked the score and it was 1-1. Fabian Shah scored. Ollie Watkins scored. I don't know what the score is right now. I guess we'll find out. Love you from Bangladesh. Bangladeshis have been so nice to me on my channel. Uzbeks are nice too, but some Uzbeks are kind of 90%, 95% of the Uzbeks on my channel are lovely, nice people. 5% are kind of demanding, and maybe even 1% is kind of, I think, brutally rude and unfair. Yeah, Bangladesh. The only thing I don't like about all of the Bangladeshi candidates is that they all call me sir, and I always ask them, please don't call me sir, and they say, okay, I'm sorry, sir. It's like, oh. I know it's part of your culture. It's a respect thing to call people sir. I just don't like being called sir. Do you teach online courses? No, well, I do, but I'm not looking for students. I don't use YouTube to find students. And certainly I'm not here to sell you a course. I would say pretty much everyone who's on YouTube selling you a course is selling you absolute trash. I would avoid buying any course from any YouTuber in general. Can you please judge the ChatGPT examining an essay? ChatGPT is not good at examining high-level essays. I've never got a 9 through ChatGPT. Usually ChatGPT says, oh, you have 7.5, both with speaking and writing. And then I say, do you know that I'm an English teacher? I'm from the UK and I'm an examiner with English. And they say, okay, then you'll get a band 9. It's like, okay, ChatGPT. So there is a problem in the ChatGPT, I don't know, the way that it works. It just doesn't measure writing very accurately. It wants to give 5, 6, or 7, and nothing below 5, nothing above 7. Is it possible to go beyond L1 users by learning English as a second language? It depends what for. If you mean like for a particular skill, Jasubek, if you mean like debating, yes. Being a lawyer, yes. Absolutely. Being a public speaker, yes. Being a teacher, yes, of course you can. But, in terms of language proficiency, and it depends how you check it. Could you pass it? Jasubek, if you did like, let's say Cambridge Advanced Use of English test, and my dad did it, I think you'd probably get similar scores. Maybe you'd even get higher. And for writing, Jasubek, your IELTS writing is better than my dad's IELTS writing. The British are input this culture to say sir to everyone who above them. Yeah, I think that's probably true historically, and I think maybe that's why so many British people feel uncomfortable now, especially, the history with what happened in South Asia. For me, when people from India, Pakistan, or Bangladesh call me sir, it feels a little bit like old-fashioned and colonial. Like, why should I be above you? I'm not above you. I'm a teacher. I'm an examiner, but I'm not above you. I might speak English better than you because it's my first language, but I'm not above you or better than you. My name is Glyn. You can call me Glyn. That's fine. Okay. Did I watch the final against Liverpool? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. All right, so I don't see any other questions there. Still, nobody's told me about Bezodbek. Lovely names in Uzbekistan, I will say that. Bezodbek. Lots of Beks. Cool. Anyway, thank you for your company. Hope you found this guided writing useful. I'd like to do more guided writing in the future, but I think I will try. I did some free lessons, and the problem was so many people were coming to the lessons with their telephone, and I asked people not to do that. So I stopped giving the free lessons. Now I'm doing these guided writings because I feel I want to do something that's like interactive with lots of different people. I'll try one more guided writing, but if we get so many people writing off topic or not following instructions, I might stop doing them as live streams and just do them as videos. Jasubek says, how many words do you know in English? I don't know. Maybe I think the average person uses like 8,000 words, 10,000 words, but maybe has a passive vocab of about 16,000. I don't know, Jasubek. How many words do you know in the Uzbek language? I guess you don't know. Yeah, Brian, British imperialist history. Pandora's, yeah. And I'm from Wales, so the British Empire kind of started by destroying my country, my language, my culture. But still, please tell me, when will you do this live stream again? I don't know when I have time. If I have, maybe next weekend, maybe in 2 weekends. I don't know, but I do like these live streams. So yeah, maybe next weekend. Who knows? But for sure, I'll let you know on my Telegram channel. I've been going for 2 hours and 21 minutes, so I think I'm going to hold it there. I'm going to watch the second half of Newcastle versus Aston Villa. Thank you for your company. Hope it was useful.